Welcome back to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast, your place for all things tech in your online business with some solid hits of general biz chat too. My name is Patty Meyer, and I am the CEO and founder of Biz Magic, where my team and I support entrepreneurs who are overwhelmed by the back-end tech of their business. We create, implement, and teach the tweaks that help our clients make a bigger impact with less stress. Many of us know that building and maintaining communities as a service can be super challenging. There's a lot of ways to build out communities using platforms like Mighty Networks or Circle. You can venture into WhatsApp or Discord, or you can use other free tools like Slack. But one of the most common ways that businesses have tried to build communities as a service is through Facebook groups. But Facebook groups have been on a journey and they've changed a lot since they were first introduced many, many years ago. And at that point, they were like the go-to for business engagement on social media. So today we're going to dive into what's actually working with Facebook groups right now and how you can use them to grow your business in a more intentional and sustainable way. And we're going to do that by talking to my guest, who is Michelle Vroom, a marketing strategist who has built a thriving business using the power of community, specifically her Facebook group. Michelle Vroom is a business coach with nearly 20 years of marketing and PR experience with nonprofits, agencies, and big corporations. She now helps women service providers and coaches grow to six figures and beyond so they can become the provider for their families. With three boys at home, Michelle understands the challenges of limited resources and time and shares her proven methods for visibility and relationship building that put you in control of getting clients. So, we are going to talk about why small groups are outperforming large ones, how buyer behavior is shifting in 2025, and what that means for your content and connection strategies. So, whether you've got a group that feels like it's a ghost town, or you've been considering starting one, but you're not sure how to make it worth your time or how to even get it going, this conversation will give you some clarity, some strategy, and encouragement to move forward. So let's get into it. Thank you for joining me, Michelle. It's so nice to get to chat with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So, even though I read a little intro and all of that, why don't you tell the audience and me a little bit more about you and how you kind of got to be doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I never imagined I'd be where I am today. I started my business 9 years ago. I just had my ninth anniversary last month.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
yeah, I know. Thank you. I'm like, 10 years will be wild when that happens. I started my business when my oldest, I have three boys at home, was 6 months old. Had I think a similar journey to a lot of people, always wanted to start my own business, but thought, well, I'll wait till I have kids or I'll wait till they're older. I'll wait till I'm in my 50s. Thank goodness I didn't listen to any of that because I would still be waiting.
Mm,
And, it never really felt like the right time until I had my son. And, I had a cushy corporate job, making good money, right? Nothing was wrong. It
yeah,
just wasn't what I really wanted. I wanted freedom and flexibility, but I also wanted to still be able to do my own thing.
yeah.
And during maternity leave, I had a bunch of opportunities come my way from family and friends who wanted help with social media. So I started out doing done for you work before I moved into coaching.
Hmm.
I think I went back to work for 2 months after maternity leave and then said, see you later. And it was a big sacrifice financially for our family. I'll say that. It was a
Yeah,
very big sacrifice. It was very scary. But at the same time, I knew I didn't want to ever like wonder what if,
yeah.
and look back with regret. So, I went out on my own. And then about a year and a half into business, 2 years, I started coaching. I shifted into coaching.
Gotcha.
And now I'm a business coach who helps other women create really steady, predictable six-figure businesses working 20 hours a week because that's what I did. And I know so many people want simplicity. I even work with clients who are at six figures and they don't feel like things are predictable or
Right,
simple. It's
right.
like that unpredictable success, I feel like is
Mhm.
something that I see a lot. So for me, being able to coach women in, having that consistency, having that predictability, always knowing, like always feeling in control of making the money they want to make so they can provide for their family, that really has just become such a bigger mission for me over the years, And now that's what I get to do. And
Wow.
my business is very simple. It is very predictable. I have sustained multiple six figures every year for the last 7 years. And
Wow.
it's something that I take for granted, so much so that I don't think I talk about it as much as I should.
Yeah.
So, it's provided so much for my family, and I really want to do that for others. Women who have seen some success in business, they've gotten some clients, but they know that more is possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, now I've just devoted my entire business to supporting those women.
And do you have passive income that gets you to this point, or is it all with your coaching? Or
All
talk a little,
coaching,
it's
all
all
coaching,
coaching.
all coaching. Yep.
Yeah.
I definitely think the business model, I'll be honest, helped a
Yeah.
lot. I feel very strongly that not all business models are created equal. Not all
Agreed.
make sense for every stage of business. I see a lot of people focusing on a model that is very, very difficult with the stage of business that they're at. Not all strategies are created equal. All
Yeah.
strategies have the potential to work, but not at every level of business. And
Right.
that's something else that I really see like a lot of like, okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I see people, coaches and experts selling how to create a course to
Mm-hmm.
brand new business owners who have
Right.
never served a client before.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, how can we do that? They don't have the audience required to sell a $97 course. If you want to get to six
No,
figures from a $97 course, like
not happening.
there's things that are required of you. And I think it's a
Yeah.
way harder path. And so for me, the business model that I chose, which is very high touch, it actually continues to be. In fact, I've sort of shifted my business recently to be even more high touch, just out of a calling for what was on my heart. But that helped. I didn't need a high volume of clients. I didn't need all these people coming through. So
Mm.
while I've had courses before, while I've had quote unquote passive income before, it's never really passive. The amount of marketing required to sell those types of things, I think a lot of people underestimate.
Yeah.
And my clients can do whatever they feel is best for their business. It's not my business. I will say that.
Right.
I'm never going to tell someone who really wants to do a course, like, you can't. I'm just going to tell them what to expect because I think we have the wrong expectations as well. And that's a whole other topic, Patty. I don't know how much you want me to dive down that rabbit hole, but
Yeah.
since you brought it up,
Yeah, what's really interesting is I just spoke with somebody, and I can't remember if their episode will air before or after this one, but we were talking about just sort of tangentially like this, that
yeah,
that idea of especially those who are newer to the online business world, and there's this conversation of, oh, if you can be successful doing XYZ, and course selling courses is one of those big ones that are like, if you make the right course you'll just sell it, but we don't talk about all the things that happen on the back end and what you actually need to have in order to have that kind of successful course. That when you see people that are like, oh yeah, I just like all every day I'm like, oh, there's 97, there's another 597s that went through, like, but they had a list and they've been working on this and they have this engagement. And so you can't just start and people don't magically, it's not the just build it and people will come. Like, they have to find you, they have to know about you, you have to have some credibility. Like, there's so much that goes into that, and we don't talk about that. And that leads a lot to people feeling like they failed, like they're not good enough, they don't know what they're doing, they're not success, like all of these things, when really it's that expectation piece, and it's that just not understanding what goes into some of this stuff. Because they just see the front end magic of it, where somebody's like, I've made all this money, and but they don't talk about all the things that it took, and all the mistakes they made, and all the failures and the ups and downs, and or lessons that they learned. I don't like failures, but lessons that they've learned. And
yeah, setbacks.
yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
hear about all of that. You just are like, oh, it's just magic and I make all this stuff. And so I think it's
Mhm.
important to talk about those things.
I
And
could not agree
yeah,
more. Yeah.
yeah,
It actually builds so much trust. And that's a big
yeah,
part of why people have hired me,
yeah,
is
that's
because of that.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, the main reason you're here today is to talk specifically about Facebook groups.
Hmm.
And so you have a lot of experience with that. So, let's talk and right, like I remember, so Biz Magic is 8 years old. And so I remember when it was first it was business pages, right? Like that was the thing. And you'd have your business page and how many likes could you get on your business page. And then groups came out, and that was the thing because people would get notifications if you posted in a group. And so that was like everybody flocked to the groups, and that was the go-to place for business engagement on Facebook. Boy, has that changed, right, over the time. So let's talk about what's happening in Facebook groups. What should we know? What's the latest and what's happening?
Sure. Sure. Awesome. Okay. So I think Facebook groups have gone through a lot of seasons, just like anything
Hmm.
in business. And, what I've noticed, if I look at the last 9 years, and some of it you've already touched on, but just to give everyone like a holistic view of the seasons.
Yeah.
When I started my business in 2016, um, the business pages were definitely still like I remember like pouring so much into my business page, and I chuckle now like, oh, you sweet sweet
Yeah.
Michelle. You didn't know, right?
Right.
And then I started my group in 2018, and I remember that was like a time when groups were really hot. Like I think that was a huge sort of like, ooh, wow, like this is this new way to, communicate
Yeah.
right in a community. I remember joining groups when I first, started my business. It was a great way to get connected, all of that.
Hmm.
And then, I think that continued for a little while. And I think it hit an even more of a resurgence in 2020 because of what was going on in the world. Everyone was at home.
Yeah.
There was a need for community. I
Hmm.
don't know when that started to shift. I want to say, it feels like the years blend together, but maybe
Yeah.
like 2022 into 2023, even into last year, you started seeing a lot of negativity about groups. Like groups aren't getting the reach that I want, they're not getting the engagement that I want. I'm going to leave and create a different community outside of Facebook.
Right.
I saw a lot of that. And I will say, I have had my group since March of 2018. So over 7 years. And I never left. I weathered the storm, so to speak, because I know that these things are cyclical. And
Right.
that's exactly what's happening now. That brings us to today. I believe this is not something I've tested, but it's something I'm witnessing, it's something I'm hearing, and it's something I do believe. Because of what's going on with AI, because of what's happening, and we haven't even scratched the surface. I honestly don't know where this is going. I think there's
Yeah.
amazing things, and I also like have a little bit of trepidation in terms of like I think we're going to struggle to know what's real. I think there are
Yes,
some
I
very
agree.
serious
It's
things
already that. Yeah. Happening.
already.
Yeah.
Because of that, though, we're going to see the pendulum swing now to the
Mm-hmm.
desire for community and groups again. So we are actually seeing Facebook prioritize groups again. And even at the time when Facebook didn't prioritize groups, my group never suffered. And I'll explain why. Like I approach groups way different than I think most people do.
Hmm.
But I've seen people who shut down their groups reopening it. Like within the span of a week, I saw two people who have like groups of, 10,000 or more reopening it. And
Mm.
I'm like, yeah, because what's happening is they're taking it to another platform. But the challenge with those other platforms that no one's talking about is you have to get people to use them. Like it or not,
Yes.
like
Yes.
it or not, Facebook is still on top.
I
Like, I
agree.
don't care what anyone says. You can hate that, but it is what it is.
Hmm.
And so instead of, pushing the boulder up the hill, I prefer to have things be efficient. And I love my community. If
Yeah.
that ever changes, I will change with it because what my success is not about a Facebook group. This is where people go wrong. They're like, I would never do a Facebook group or I hate groups because it's like, well, but it's not the group.
Right.
I could create this on any platform.
Hmm.
It's about what I'm doing in the group to build trust and to build relationship. That is what continues to pay off for me. It's because
Right.
I have those relationships that I didn't care whether Facebook was prioritizing my group or not.
Right.
Because
Right.
people have a relationship with me. So what are they doing? They're seeking the group out. So I
Mm.
don't give a crap what the algorithm's doing on any given day.
Mm.
I'm in
Yeah.
control.
Right.
I'm in control.
Right.
Now I know there are people who are going to hear that and say, well, if Facebook shut down tomorrow, which is such a silly thing to say because it's not going to. Like
Right.
it's not going to anytime soon. But I understand the sentiment, right?
Hmm.
If Facebook shut down tomorrow, what would you do? It's like, well, I know how to build a community anywhere. So I'm still in control. That's the thing. I don't
Hmm.
even entertain that thought or worry about it. It's not like I'm sticking my head in the sand. I
Right.
don't see that happening. I think we have so many years of like conditioning of being on Facebook that I think it would be very hard to turn that tide. I'm not saying it always will be that way. But
Sure.
like Facebook, I mean, I remember creating a Facebook account in 2006. Okay.
Right.
Like
Oh
we're running
yeah.
on 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
it has longevity. I don't
Right,
care what anyone says.
right.
So
More than anything else that went
right.
on, because we
Now,
also
am
all
I,
remember, yeah,
yeah, am I blind to the fact that it could change? No, but why sit around and entertain that every single day?
right,
Because then I'm thinking about, well, what if, and entertaining worst case scenario every day instead of focusing on the community that I'm building, which is producing consistent, steady revenue in my business.
right, yeah.
So that's where I feel like we're at. And those are some of the changes I think are happening is that actually, and smaller groups are also performing really well. It used to be back in the 2018 to 2020 era that it was like all about getting your group to
Numbers,
big
numbers,
numbers.
numbers. Yeah.
Now, I think group growth has been challenging lately. We've seen some challenges with that. I know some of my clients have. I'm happy to speak to any of that as well. But like that actually doesn't matter as much right now because people
Mhm.
also want smaller communities that are more close knit and that are more specific. And so
Right.
it's like a return back to Facebook groups, but in a different way. And again, I
Yeah.
can go anywhere you want to, but that's sort of like a holistic view that I hope is helpful and also
Yeah.
reassuring for people as well to see like what era we're in. You know what I mean? What season we're
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said so many things that I was over here like, oh yeah, that and that and that.
Yeah.
And I agree with so much of that, especially the part of saying, well, and so many people want to leave Facebook and some people do. And that's okay. Um, but most people tend to stay even though or they go for, a week or two to some other platform. They're like, yeah, but nobody's here and then they come back. And and this is something I talk about with my clients too, when they want to start, communities on Mighty Networks, or it doesn't matter where, anywhere that's outside of Facebook in that way. Like, but people are on Facebook. They're already there, and therefore they're going to see your stuff in your group more readily than they will. They're not used to logging into Mighty Networks every day. They're not used to that. So the chance of them that's a new habit that has to be built. And so your group has to have the draw to have somebody start a new habit.
Yeah. And
And that's talking about that value that you're saying that happens inside the group. And that's where it is the most important. It's not about numbers because who gives a shit about numbers? It's
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, Patty, can I give some tough love to the people
yeah.
listening?
Oh,
I
please.
mean, I just want to say this. If your reason for moving your community somewhere else is because you don't like Facebook, then you've made it all about you and
Mhm.
not about the habits of the person you're trying to market to.
Right, right,
When it's all about you, you can expect to see that show up in your results.
right.
Versus when you make it about the other person,
Mm-hmm.
like, do you like your reasons? Are your reasons actually rooted in who you're marketing to?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you just doing it because you don't like something? I mean, I think we
Yeah,
have to get honest about that with ourselves,
yeah,
and raise the
yeah,
standard a bit. I'm
yeah.
not
And,
saying everybody has to have a Facebook group. I have clients who don't
right.
have Facebook groups, but
Mm-hmm.
like, look at your reasoning for shifting. 'Cause so many people are making shifts because they don't like something instead of like, okay, how can I reframe this and approach it a different way? Because this is how my people want to be marketed to, or this is like
Right.
where my people are. I don't know. I feel like people are throwing out so many good opportunities and
Yeah,
making rash decisions too. So I think we have to be
right.
careful of that. That's a tough love I would give. And not
Yeah.
everybody needs that who's
Mm-hmm.
listening, but somebody will.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with that fully. And I will say that I do also, and I'm sure you have clients who have successful communities in other places. And
A
so that
hundred
is a
percent. Yes.
possibility.
It is a possibility.
And I think
Yes.
it does come down to who are your people and are
Yep.
your people not on Facebook and they're like,
Yep.
hey, I am good to hang out in Slack. Let's do it.
Yep.
I'm here
Yep.
because I am in communities in Slack and in other places that are successful. I don't
Yes.
go as much because I tend to be on Facebook, so I
Right.
tend to
Right.
steer away, but they are successful and that
Right.
is great. So I think it's important to also say that, but I agree. I think the lesson here is don't make a decision based on a trend that you hear is
A
happening
hundred percent.
or what your own feelings are in that way, unless that there is a value alignment
Yep.
that feels very off with you.
Core values. Yes.
Yeah.
A hundred
And then
percent. A hundred
then you
percent.
go and you do you and
Yep.
it's completely okay.
Yep.
If you're doing it just because you're like, I don't want to be on Facebook just 'cause,
because
You
it
might
feels like
think
it's
about
not working or it's like all
yeah,
rooted in, yeah, versus
yeah,
if it feels like an opportunity to be off of it, by all means. I just feel
yeah,
like that, and what I love what you just said about the trends because
yeah,
I'm remember when Clubhouse was a thing?
yeah.
I mean, I guess some people are still doing it.
All of them, right? There's
Yeah,
like,
like if you're still making Clubhouse work, great. Oh, more power to you. But like everybody was like, that's the next best thing. You're
yeah.
behind if you
Mhm.
I think our industry, my perspective from having spent 9 years in the industry, is that we're always like, you're behind if you're not doing this. You're
Yeah,
behind if you're not jumping on the next trend. And I think it sends people down a path that makes it 10 times harder for them. It
so
adds extra
hard.
steps. Like
Yeah,
if you feel like you want to jump on a trend for a good reason, go for it.
yeah,
But I have also found that like staying the course, it's not the sexy answer, is it? But it's like
yeah,
such a powerful one and one that I hope reassures someone too who might be like, "Oh, do I need to like if it makes you feel panicky inside, take a beat and don't do
yeah.
it because it'll create more panic in your business and chaos in your business too. You know,
Yeah,
which is the
and
opposite of simple."
yeah, and
Yeah.
you can always, you don't have to do it right away. Like that's
Right.
when
Yep.
those things come, I usually sit and I watch and I'm
Same.
like,
Same.
let's chill for a couple
Yeah.
months and see what
Yeah.
happens and maybe I'll go and peek in there, but I definitely don't change my strategies. I don't jump
Yep.
ship
Yep.
and more often than not
Yeah.
they don't work out or they don't last. And there's reasons for that. Again, there's habits and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I mean this is yeah, we could go down so much as
Yep.
far as that
Yep.
goes. But let's talk about smaller groups, right?
Yes. Yep.
So you mentioned that when you were talking. So why is it that smaller
Mhm.
groups perform better than larger ones?
Yep.
And you mentioned that a little bit about wanting kind of that closer community, but what does that mean for someone that's just starting out or struggling to grow their group?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say this. The hardest part of group growth is getting your first 100 members. I don't know why it is, but it just
Um,
is. So like if you're in that place right now, don't stop. Like
right.
you're gonna feel it. It's gonna feel like you're the only one talking. Like I have been through that. I just really want to encourage someone because I feel like people stop and think they're doing something wrong, and it's like, no, this is just the like I don't know. I hate to say like crappy part of it that you just have to like power through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like when you're
But
starting a business, you have
yeah,
a
right,
period where
right,
you're just
exactly.
like people don't just magically come. It takes time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here is why I think specific smaller groups are performing better. And again, I think we're going to start to see this. Like some of what I'm sharing with you is also linked in with my prediction. So it's what I'm seeing
Okay.
now and then rooted in like where I see things going.
Yeah.
So it's not based on like, just pulling stuff out of thin air here. It's like, no, this tends to happen
Right.
because we are seeing the rise of AI and because in our industry we are in I've heard some people call it the antitrust era where it's like trust is low, particularly in the
Mm.
coaching industry. A
Yes.
lot of people, and I
Yeah.
don't say this to discourage anyone, you guys, there's so much opportunity. I really want you to take that away from this interview and I'm happy to
Yeah.
share more on that because I have people buying at a higher rate this year than they have maybe even last year. But what's happening is that you have a more sophisticated market, right? So remember the pre 2020 era where it was like coaching was still very new.
Yeah.
I still don't think we've by any means like hit the pinnacle of that. I think coaching is starting to become more mainstream, but still isn't quite yet.
Yeah.
However, in 2020, a lot changed. A lot of people came on into the market, and what happened is the market became more saturated. People were buying stuff right and left because they
Mhm.
had the disposable income given what was going on.
Right.
And you have a more sophisticated market now that is probably a bit jaded, right? If we're honest, where they've invested in a lot of things. And I'm always very careful to like when I have this conversation because it's easy to be like, I invested in all the things and didn't get any results. I don't know. Those aren't my people. Like my people are like, yeah, it's been a mixed bag, but like I also know that when I make investments, like it's up to me. And maybe some of the things I invested in weren't that great to begin with
Right.
because of what the decision I made. So I
Right.
don't want this to turn into like everybody sucks kind of thing. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that a lot of people have been more sophisticated where they maybe invested in something and it didn't quite meet the expectations, or it's like, I don't know that I made the best decision there. And so what's happened
Yeah.
now is you have a market that's more sophisticated, that is also more discerning, and people are
Mhm.
slower to buy.
Yes.
It used to be in 2020, and I don't know that this was ever a good thing. I think it was always going to turn back around, right?
Right.
I
Right.
think
Yeah.
2020 was such a weird, it wasn't even like it was devoid
It's
of reality. Let's just be
yeah.
honest,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And people were
Like,
just like, take my money, and I want to
you ever
like.
just like blink and be like, did we live 20, 25 years ago? Like, did all that ever happen? Like, did that
And not
actually
only like
happen?
all of us did. Like it's such
We
a
all went
weird,
through so
like,
much. Like, it
yeah,
is crazy to think about, right? So it was not a realistic, like if you came into the market then, you came in at a weird time,
yeah,
right? So what's happening now is this is kind of always the way it's been. It used to be that you could throw out like some vague message about, a course or something you were selling and people would just buy.
right,
Now,
right.
though, when you're more discerning, what are you looking for? You're looking for specificity. You
Hmm.
want to know that the person you're, especially with coaching, right? So obviously going to
Yeah,
use myself as an example here, but this can apply to anybody, be it service
yeah,
providers, experts, whatever. Um, People want to know that like you can help them because you've lived it or
right.
because you are so specific about who you're serving and the problem that you can solve for.
Yeah.
That's why specificity is working in messaging and marketing and in Facebook groups. So instead of this high
Mm,
volume of like random people, it's like, no, smaller groups that are specific around the topic and that it's like relevant to the right person, you're going to bring in more qualified people. It might not be hundreds of thousands of people, but if you have highly qualified people and a business model that makes sense for where you're at, which I think for a lot of your listeners probably is not the like high volume, I need a million people to buy kind of
right.
thing, then it actually works in your favor and you don't need to worry about that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. And I like the point on the trust, which is I think that's a big key. And
Yeah.
it's definitely, I would say, encompassing all online business. That right, we all went through this, and coaches were a part of that. All of us, right? So I saw that in hiring for my agency, right? So it was before 2020. It was a lot easier to hire people, and they had qualifications and all this stuff. And then 2020, all these VAs flooded into the market because what will we
Yeah.
do? We're at home, we're trying to figure out, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, how do I
Right.
like and to like the it was harder to vet. And so
Yes.
you
Yes.
also now have everybody coming on who are like, okay, I need to figure out how to make money now while I'm sitting at home. And so they're learning skills, they're wanting to hire coaches, and there's more people coming on and being like, well, I've done this, I can be a coach on this. And so again, not saying not to trust people, but
Yeah.
there was absolutely just it was flooded. And so it was very hard when you've not purchased in that way and you've not been in that experience to know what to look for to
Exactly.
find somebody who has the expertise that you're seeking, who can do the transformation with you or give you the result that you're hoping for. You don't know what questions to ask. And so we are at a point now where people have learned some of those lessons. And yes, sometimes they've purchased from people where they're like, wow, that wasn't what I was hoping for. I didn't get what I wanted. Or I need something different myself. I didn't know how I learn best, and now I've learned how I
Yeah.
learn best. And so there's a lot of those things that
Yes.
come into that now. And
Yes.
it is that not that people aren't spending, but that they are way, way more discerning
And I
and
think that's a good
it's
thing. I
slow.
actually think
Yeah.
discernment is a good thing. We do want discernment in our businesses, don't we? I mean,
Uh,
I think that that is a good thing. I'm actually like uplifted by that because I don't want anyone to just buy from me. Like, that's not what I'm not in this
yeah.
business
I
just
want
to
to
get people
help
to
my
buy.
people, the people
Yeah, a
that
hundred
fit for
percent. And
me
when
and
you have the
that
right
I'm going to be
person,
successful with.
exactly. Like when
Yeah.
you have the right person matched with you, it's such a beautiful thing. When you don't, it is very hard. And we
Yeah.
do the best that we can, right? But I think discernment is good. And I think that we need to stop making that a bad thing. I also think the type of offers people are buying, I got some thoughts on that because I'm seeing some stuff. Like I think people may be more discerning, but I think they're more willing to spend more to get, higher touch, some more personalized. It doesn't mean courses and memberships aren't
Right,
selling.
right,
That's not what I'm
right. Yeah.
saying. But like, I think now if you're selling a course, you have to be very clear about how is this different than what you could go get from AI? Like that, now
Right.
you have that layer in there, right? I'm actually seeing
Yeah.
an uptick in people wanting more support from me and being willing to pay higher prices. I have matched what I made last year at the point that we're recording this. So we're not even halfway through the year with half the amount of clients. So that should tell you something, right?
Right.
So while buyers are more discerning, there is absolutely a market for them investing at even higher levels. It's just they want something that's a little bit different, which I think is normal. We're going to see that shift too. Like we just have to be prepared for
Right.
shifts. So I think
Right.
that's important to note. And again, if you're selling a course or you're selling something that is more passive, okay, no problem. But then how are you going to differentiate yourself and
Right.
build that trust? I mean, I saw someone selling a course. She did an amazing job selling it. It totally like rocked the launch. Well, part of the marketing was her giving people access to like one of the initial modules. That
Mm,
built insane trust. So like there's
right.
ways to do this with whatever business model you have. I'm selling a $97 kind of fun offer right now that I'm doing for the summer where people get to watch me fill my coaching waitlist because I'm booked out right now, fill my
Mm,
coaching waitlist for the next 30 days. They're going to watch me and I'm going to like show the good, the bad, like everything. And it's like, I didn't know what to expect, Patty, when I put that out there.
yeah.
People are jumping on it. And I really think it's that hunger for transparency.
Yes.
And listen, everybody who listens to this podcast is amazing at what they do. So there's no like smoke and mirrors here. I
Yeah.
think we just have to, and I think this is why my Facebook community has done so well and creating a community like that. And I do think Facebook has its advantages
Yeah.
because people can see that transparency. They know who they're buying from. And that is how we're navigating the changes in the market. And I think it's a good thing because if you can do that now, guess what? The market's going to change and it'll be back to a certain level again and you'll always be able to win.
Yeah.
Right? You'll always be able to succeed. And we can't control a lot in life, but if we can control that, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and there's a couple points that you touched on that I was just writing down to
Yeah.
to come back
Yeah.
to. So one is that transparency, and when I'm in groups, the ones that I find have the most engagement are the most successful are what you're saying, and people who like you see who's running that, and they're
Yes.
not trying to pretend they're perfect and have all the things, and like they're showing up as the human they are, who is learning as they go, and that resonates so much more with people. And I think so I really agree with what you're saying there because that is what we want. I mean, that's what and what a lot of like my people want, which is why I do this and I show up as myself because I'm like, you know, shit happens and business happens and life happens and it's just a part of it and to pretend that everything's perfect is not being honest with the
No.
successes that I do share. So you need to see when I stumble, you need to see the things where I'm like, whoa, that didn't work, like so that
Yes.
when you see the things that did work, you can appreciate it and also see how it's relevant to your own journey and feel like, oh, okay, well, I had a stumble, but hey, I see all these other people that I follow having stumbles and still being successful, right? So I think that that's a big part of the transparency. And the other thing is that kind of going back to talking about 2020 and kind of
Yep.
the influx of things is that for those of us who were in business for years before that, we already kind of understood that business isn't super easy all the time and that there's an ebb and
Yep.
flow in business. But
Yeah.
but for people who were just entering kind of the world, the business world at that point, they just saw like, holy crap, look at all this money to be had and these people who will
I
buy.
think it was harder for them. I really
Yeah.
do think I'm thankful I didn't. And I'm not saying
Right.
that to discourage anyone, but like I do think it set different expectations.
That's what I'm
Love
saying
what you're saying. Yeah.
exactly, is that
Yep.
they didn't understand from that point because now that we're back to
Yeah.
it is normal, even though that wasn't an
Yes.
anomaly, but it is normal that businesses and the market ebb
Yes.
and flow and that there are periods where you're like doop doop crickets and then there are periods where you're like, all right, I don't have enough and I'm booked out and I'm crazy. Like
I love
that,
that you're normalizing this, Patty. I think so many
yeah.
people need to normalize it. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of the people that came in at that point, they're feeling really discouraged right now because they're like, whoa, what is happening? And it's like, well, this is normal. It's uncomfortable, but
Mm,
it's normal. And so
yep.
that's a big lesson that a lot of those people who were just coming in then are experiencing now. And it's kind of, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's sort of the make or break for a lot of like, are you a
Yeah.
sustainable long-term
Yep.
business or were you
Yep.
riding the coattails of the
Yep.
opportunity that was happening then, which is okay also.
Absolutely. It'll show you where you need to be, and there's no right or wrong. And I love that you're normalizing this. I mean, I am just like, yes, Patty, I feel exactly the same way as you. We're kindred spirits here because
Yeah,
I think that, and I think people need more of that. Again, it's not the sexy stuff, but I don't think the sexy stuff is selling the way that it used to. I think
right.
what's actually sexy now is doing what you just said, being willing to share all parts of your story, including the parts where you failed. That failed. That's something
Yes.
I put quotes around that because it's not really true failure, but
Right.
like that's something AI ChatGPT can't replicate. It really
Right.
can't actually.
No.
So like anybody
No.
who's worried about AI or who's like, how do I stand out? I think what you just shared is so key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's always going to be, we're always going to connect with people more than we are
Yep.
with robots. Not all of us. Some of us are like, hey, robot, be my best friend. That's great.
That's scary.
Um, but, but
P.S.
often
iRobot has been on TV a lot lately, and I'm like, I don't think I could watch this right now.
too real, too real.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's, and yeah, talking about AI, it's a whole other thing of like, yes, there's scariness that comes with that, but man, the opportunities that come with
I really think we should
are
focus on the opportunity. Yeah.
also incredible and what it can do for you and your business. And I mean, and there's this part of it. I was doing my monthly analytics and I was like, holy shit, I've gotten some leads from ChatGPT. Like I'm getting some people that are coming to my website from
That's how you know you've
ChatGPT.
made it.
Right? And I was
I
like,
love
all
that.
right,
All
that's
right,
cool.
thanks,
So
robot. If you're gonna be
yeah,
here, then I'd
yeah.
rather you send me some leads. Yeah, love
Yeah.
that. That's
So
so
there's
cool.
there's different ways to look at it in different
Yeah,
layers with that. So,
yeah.
but so going back to Facebook groups, right? So what are some mistakes or challenges that you're seeing coaches and business owners make inside of their Facebook groups that keeps getting them stuck? Because you're saying, look, the way that I show up in my Facebook group, this is the gold, right? This
Yes,
is why it's
yes.
different. So talk to me about that.
Okay, well, the first piece I'll go to before I talk about like the specific things that I'm sharing and all of that
Yeah.
is, the level of commitment isn't there. I think that it's like a conditional commitment. It's like I'm only going to
Hmm.
be committed to my Facebook group if it's producing results, but my group produces results because I am so committed to it. And
Hmm.
that's just like anything, right? So I think
Yeah.
checking in with the commitment piece of that is really important. I see a lot of people kind of having that conditional commitment and then wondering why the consistency isn't there. I also think there's this need to like, how do I want to say it? Seek validation from your group
Mm.
before you like show up fully. It's like, oh, well, if my group gets engagement, then that means like I'm validated. Or if somebody like almost expecting your audience to show up for you instead of you showing up for your
Oh, that's
audience.
interesting.
So like I'm only going to go live when I know people will watch, or like I need to have a
Mm.
certain level of engagement for me to pour into my group, and that's all conditional, right? So I think
Right.
it goes back to the same thing. So those are two things I think trip people up before they even really like have a system in the group of what they're sharing, because it's like, well, I'll share during the good times, but it's like the look at the relationship you have with your group, right? As if it were a relationship
Right.
with a person. Is it
Right.
like I'm only gonna, show up during the good times? I mean, that's not much of a relationship. So I
Right.
do think that the relationship that I have with my group as a strategy has definitely benefited me. And I see that as a mistake that I think other group owners are making. But it's an easy one to fix. You can recommit. By the way, I have to recommit to my group all the time. It is like a relationship. It's like a marriage. I don't wake up every day being like, I'm so excited about my marriage, right? Like I'm so in love and everything's perfect and sunshine
Right.
and rainbows. It's like, no, with any relationship, you have to recommit to
Right.
the other person if you want to go the distance, right?
Right.
Same thing with the strategy. Now, it doesn't mean I'll never change strategies or to be blind, right? Follow things blindly. You always have to
Right.
track the data. But I think that's one of the biggest things I see for a lot of people. Now,
Yeah.
in terms of what I share in the group that's different than what other people are doing, other people are not showing up like the boss. They're making it a free for all. I have been here, and I actually have heard this from polling my group. So this is rooted in some feedback, is that people are tired of the groups that are just like promo filled. Like
Oh yeah.
that
Oh
may have
yeah.
worked at one point. And I actually, at one point, my group was promo, and we stopped that
Yeah.
because it wasn't offering value in the feed. It's like you
Mhm.
have to offer value in the feed for people to keep coming back to your group.
Right.
It can't
Right.
be I just get new people in all the time. The success of your group rests on, can you get the members who are in there to keep coming back and
Right.
to seek you out, because then it doesn't
Right.
matter what the algorithm is doing, right?
Hmm.
The problem is that they're not going to do that unless it offers value. We always, even if a group is free, right? For a free group, it's like you have to offer value. So what a lot of people do is they market it based on like promo, and anybody can promo, and you get in there and it just doesn't feel like a conversation.
It's
We
not
have
though.
actually, right, it's not. I heard from my members that they feel like there are very few groups where they can actually have authentic networking and conversation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've already did that well, but I made some changes even at the beginning of this year to make that even more of a thing. We hosted a networking event. I wanted to do it monthly. I have not been good about that. I'll have to like figure out what that looks like for me, but I
Yeah.
did host a networking event at the beginning of the year, and people ate that up because
Yeah.
they're craving that so much. So, my group does that and also sells. And I do that by in the group, yes, engaging with people, offering networking opportunities, but creating what I call trust driven content. So,
Hmm.
content that is built on a relationship, a conversation. I'm sharing the good moments. I'm sharing the tough moments. I'm challenging their thinking. I'm offering my perspective as a coach. So, it feels like a conversation. But what it's doing is it's actually selling people on me. and it
Mm,
feels so much better.
right,
So
right.
it's like you
Yeah,
can do both. Like I feel like people either feel like you have to just be promoting all the time in your group, all promo everybody,
yeah,
or nothing at all and it's super strict. Like there's got to be a happy medium and I think we're starting to get there. And
yeah,
I think the desire is there as well. I also think what makes me different is I'm promoting what's happening in the group versus the group itself. A lot of group owners will say like I have a free group, come join. Well, that would be the equivalent of saying I have a free email newsletter. Boring, nobody wants
right,
that,
right, right,
right?
right. What is the
You have to
purpose?
be,
Yeah,
yeah, we have to get creative, especially when group growth has been more challenging these days. I think we have to get more creative at like, this is what's happening inside of my group and
yeah,
giving them a compelling reason to join and then to stick around. And that involves, again, to bring this back full circle, the commitment on your end. And those are the things that I don't see other group members doing or group owners doing that I think are creating sort of this like, this group that feels like a chore,
yes,
like I'm
yeah,
pouring in, but it's not producing anything. And it feels like just another thing on my to do list. I don't want that for anybody. If it
right.
feels like that, I think a reevaluation is definitely needed. And hopefully, what I'm sharing here will help you kind of do that reeval.
Yeah. And I think what's important to remember, and this is something that for years, whenever anybody, any of my clients have said, "Oh, I'm thinking about starting a group or a membership," is I'm like, okay. I want to start by saying that shit is hard. Let's be
It is
clear.
hard. It is hard.
Running a group is really hard, and it is because and hard in the sense of you do have to have that commitment. You do
You
have to have
do.
that consistency.
You
It
do.
takes a lot of work
Yep.
to show up regularly, whether or not people are engaging
Yep.
and to make sure that you are reading comments when people do and you're moderating it as
Hmm.
necessary. Like
Yep.
it is a lot of work. And so I think that what I see happens in a lot of groups is you go in there and in the beginning it's like woo and it's this fun and great and all these things and then it just slowly peters out because the people who's running the group guilty done it
A
myself
hundred percent.
just was like, ugh, I'm just burnt out. I'm doing all these other things, and this is a low like it's also a long game, right? So for the success, for you to see something from it in your business, and in addition, I think it's also a long game. And so I
Yeah.
think anytime we're looking at those long game things, if you're somebody who's looking for really quick and instant success in something, and you're going to see numbers right away, groups are not going to be it.
Organic, I mean, organic marketing. It's a
Right?
trade-off, right? It's
Yeah.
like you either
Yeah.
invest the time and you have to love it and recommit to it,
Yeah.
or you're going to be paying money. I mean, there's
Right.
no perfect system here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's networking. I mean, it's long like networking
Yeah,
is
of
long term.
course.
It's
Yep.
it's long term. It's networking the same as if you go on to Instagram tomorrow and start posting a few things, you're not magically going to get 1,000 followers and all this stuff. Like it takes time.
You have to
And it
plant
takes
seeds, but it actually takes shorter
yeah.
time than if you keep trying to find the one thing. It's like you could actually waste all your time doing that than just
Yeah.
committing. Committing is still faster, even
Yeah.
though you're playing the long game,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other piece too that you've mentioned is, when you're sharing enough value, kind of the algorithms don't matter as much. And I really I've not thought of it that way before, but I see myself like if I go on Facebook and I think, "Oh, I haven't heard from this group in a while," and I go in and they never showed up in my feed, but I think about them, I care about them, and so
Hmm.
I'm going and seeking them out. I am going to check in on that group because I've received value from them. And that's important to me. And so that's exactly that group has done what you're saying. They've stayed front of mind for me, whether or not I see a post from them in my feed. I'm going and finding them because that's what I want. And I know I enjoy whatever I experience in that group.
That's why relationships will never die.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships will outlive any trend.
Yes.
And I think we're seeing a return to relationships from people and business owners who didn't prioritize them, who maybe prioritized the automated funnels and stuff. I mean, you see these big name business owners like Kelly Roach, right? Would be one example. I mean, these 8-figure, 9-figure business owners going back to relationships and
Yeah.
prioritizing groups and prioritizing relationships and prioritizing the things that cannot be automated,
Right. Right.
back to basics in a way. And if
Yeah.
you've been using basics or if you've been prioritizing relationships, you are actually ahead of the game. And
Yeah.
that's good news because the best clients I've had are the ones who came from those deep relationships.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the only way, but in our rush to automate everything, there was a loss there that I
Yeah.
think is now kind of we're seeing a return to.
I agree with that. I agree with that because also when we talk about automation with that, right? I mean, how many like I have a group that I kind of was handed that's a local networking group that I'm like, "But you got to get yourself together." And like I need to do a networking. And I know. So I do have just some like posts that are going weekly that but that's not going to do anything and that's we get a little bit here and there but it's just to keep some visibility while I get my ducks in a row and figure out what am I going to do with this group and how am I going to be successful in this. But I think the rise of being able to schedule, because you couldn't for a long time when groups first came out, you couldn't schedule posts in groups. So you had to show up live and you had to be organic. But then all of a sudden you could schedule.
I know. I like
So
forgot about that, by the way. When you brought that up, I'm like, when was that shift?
yeah.
I totally forgot because we've been able to
Yeah.
schedule for so long. But yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, and so you can still schedule. So when you're using, schedulers to either natively in Facebook or something else to schedule into a group, ideally you're just or not ideally, you're losing
Mm-hmm.
the organic interaction that comes with that because you're
Yes.
checked out. You're just letting
Yes.
something go and saying, well, that's engagement. There's something posted in there, so people are going to do it. So
Right.
there's the difference there. So, which kind of leads me to, so for people who are feeling kind of the lack of engagement in their group and they're like, okay, I hear what you're saying, Michelle. I get it. What is the first step that I can take to start reinvigorating my group or starting my group in a
Yeah.
way to like get it going and let's move towards this other direction.
The word you just said, serving.
Mm,
If it's, I need to re-engage my group so I can get something from them, it's gonna be really hard to do because you're in
mhm.
get energy.
Right.
The words you said, serve, that's how you do it. And I'll give you a real time example. Well, not a real time, a real life example that happened 2 years ago. That's not real time. um, 2 years ago, and we go through so many fluctuations with engagement. I'll also just say that, like, you can spend so much time worrying about it and to take up like all your time.
Yeah.
But I know people want to hear what I would recommend. So here's what I'm going to say. 2 years ago, it was around February. I think it was February of 2023. We just were like, I don't know. I had been very disengaged from my group. I had some stuff going on. Like, I don't know. I was going through like a disengaged season, or at least I felt disengaged. And I remember having a conversation with my coach and just like really sitting with how can I just serve the heck out of them and not even worry
Right.
about how much money I'm making.
Mm,
And as soon as I asked myself that question, an idea came to mind. I was like, well, right now, so how can I serve them? The answer was, well, right now, a lot of them are feeling like it's slow to get clients, or they're hearing this message of like it's hard to get clients.
yeah.
What if I did a 30 days to new clients challenge, completely free? There's no opt ins, it's just for the group members. And every day I go live and I give them a practical strategy they can use to go out and get clients in 60 minutes a day or less. And I
Mm,
was so excited about it because I had zero attachment. I wasn't going to sell anything, nothing.
yeah.
Well, the group blew up. I like put up a post that was like, who would be interested in me doing this? And I felt excited about it. That's why the post blew up. And the engagement skyrocketed that entire month. I had so many amazing conversations. I didn't get a client directly from that, but I got all these leads that then turned into clients. So there was
Right.
a ripple effect there as well.
Yeah.
So I would, and now we've turned it into a lead magnet. We will start charging for it at some point, but for now it is free. Um, just because there's so much in there, right? But
Mhm.
like that then turned into something that we ended up using to get more people into the group. Like what a cool opportunity that just kind of
Mhm.
came out of I was like, I'm gonna do this. And then the next day I just announced it. There was no prep, but it was like one of the best things. And so I would say to
Yeah.
anybody listening, if you feel like engagement is low, like how can you lead first and serve first? What would
Right.
that look like for you? And when we focus on service, we put we put our minds in their shoes, right? And think about what they're thinking about right now, which is going to
Right.
then increase engagement naturally.
Right. Yeah. Think about why are you start well, and I mean maybe that's a question to think of when you start a group is why are
Mhm.
you doing this? If you're doing it just to sell or are you doing it to serve and then know and maybe at some point of course a lot of our activities are to be
Yeah.
successful and to
Yep.
sell, but if we really want to think about well if I'm just going to start a group to sell, I mean then your motives are probably not going to be in a position that are going to attract people that are going to engage in this group. You're going to attract other people that want to sell, right?
A
And
hundred
so
percent.
really think about. what your purpose is and why you're there. So I really like kind of looking at it from that perspective for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when
Yeah.
you said the word serve, I was like, that's what
Yeah.
it is. That's what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Um, okay, this has been super amazing, super interesting. Because I love tech and that's my
Yep.
jam.
Yep.
Do you have Facebook group aside,
Yep.
just in your business with yourself, with your clients, do you have any a favorite platform or tool that you use?
I mean, it's become my favorite. It was hard when I made the transition because I made it from Asana, but ClickUp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Asana still sort of like has love in my heart because I never have been a Trello person. So I was always like the Asana. You're either an
Same.
Asana or a Trello person,
Same.
right? And the reason I like it so much is because it really helps me track my leads. I mean, that's also part of why my group has been so successful because I'm tracking leads and I'm tracking who engages and tracking conversations so people feel like I can do very personalized follow-up, right? I can
Yeah.
tag people in things that would be interesting to them. So while it's an 8,500 member group, it feels very personal.
Yeah.
ClickUp was hard to transition to, but now I feel like we have a really good like lead tracker in there. So I would say that's a tool for sure. And we don't even use like the automated schedulers anymore for stuff. Like it's all, native to Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another tool that has worked really well. I mean, I do love my Fathom.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know we were joking before this that my Fathom joined and you had to kick it out. I do love it, and I'll tell you why I love it because it allows me to analyze like sales calls and conversations that I have
Mm,
and really like explore ways to improve.
yeah.
And so that's actually been like I resisted it for a while. I don't love how it just automatically joins. I have to figure that out, but like I really do appreciate kind of the depth. Like I can pull content ideas from
Yeah.
conversations that I have with clients. So I would say that's another tech thing that I've really embraced.
Yeah.
And, we're still riding with active campaign. I know a lot of people like they've raised prices, so it's like
I know.
hard. But at the
Mhm.
same time, and by the way, I did negotiate a price with them, a discount for anybody who's listening is like, I don't want to leave active campaign. Like, see what they can do. Like push a little bit and you'll be surprised.
Mm.
But the automations and not automations, it's actually not even the automations, it's the tagging and
Yeah.
being able to like follow up with people like this $97 offer that I'm
Yeah.
using, right? Or that I'm selling. We tag everybody who clicks the sales page and doesn't buy. And I sent just a really casual email yesterday where I like admitted I was like, yeah, we're tracking you. That's how you create
Yeah.
demand. Like I'm not gonna lie,
Creepy,
right?
but hi.
But here's what
Yeah.
I want to do. And it was and I we sent it out to I think it was 45 people, and one person replied yesterday and was like, yeah, I am interested. Like I'll take it, right? So the
Yeah.
ability to be able to use that kind of stuff to then further the personalization
Yeah. I agree.
is what's working really well for me right now. And that's the balance of automation and relationship building.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody on my team today because I have a client who's leaving, trying to leave where she's at. And we're just like, I love active campaigns so
I
much, but the
know.
prices are challenging. And I keep looking and I keep looking for alternatives. But man, they have the
I
market cornered on
know.
what they have.
I know.
And there's a reason that they can demand these
Yeah.
prices. That's
And
the
if you
reality at
ask
this
them
point.
to analyze your account and do a usage and everything, they can tell you if there's a better price. I did like have that
Great
conversation
idea.
with them and like was like, I'm thinking about leaving, threw that in there. And they gave me, I said, I don't need this package, but I also don't need this. And they came up
Right.
with something in the middle. So I realize that is not what's normally happening with a lot of people. But I also think if you push a little bit, I
That's
have not
great
found
advice.
something that, I mean, I know people love ConvertKit too, but I don't know. I
It's
feel
not
like,
as robust.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Okay.
on
That's
I'm on
interesting.
ConvertKit. I
You are?
love
Okay.
ConvertKit.
Yeah.
I went back because I moved from ConvertKit
Yeah.
to Active Campaign, and then when they price hiked, I was like, I just can't, and I
I
should
know.
should have talked to them, but I went back, and it's fine for what I'm doing right now, but
Yeah.
just not comparable when it comes to
Yeah.
the level of automation, especially the way that you're
Right.
thinking. It really
Right.
is. It really is. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
of course we like use Canva. My assistant uses Canva to
yeah,
like create things. So I think that's always been helpful. But yeah, I would say those are my go-to. I mean,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
they're, ones that really support me with the lead and the lead
yeah.
generation and the personalized, selling and all that. Like that just works so well for
Yeah.
what I do. So,
Yeah.
until that changes.
Awesome.
I tend
So
to like not want to get inundated with tools either because I get really overwhelmed.
that's
I am
fair.
not a
Yeah.
systems and tool person.
Yeah.
Thank God
Yeah.
for people who are like you. Like thank God for you because I can get overwhelmed really easily. So I
Yeah.
try to keep it simple too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's great. So this has been super helpful, super amazing. If people want to work with you or just want to find you, where can they do that?
Well, since we talked about the Facebook group so much, Market Like a Boss is the name of the Facebook group. And the reason being that it's all about you marketing like a boss and being in control of signing clients. That's what I want for you. So, if you are curious about what it looks like to run a Facebook group in today's world, if you actually do want genuine, authentic community and relationship building, like we've been talking about, I would love to have you join the group. I know you have the link, so I'm sure you'll share it. But yeah, I would say come in that group. I'd love to see you. I also have a podcast called Market Like a Boss where I talk about like different marketing strategies and things that I'm seeing in the industry. So if this conversation interested you, there's definitely more where that came from.
Perfect. And I'll have all of that in the show notes as well. So thank you so much, Michelle. This has been so awesome, and I'm super excited to share it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Biz Magic Podcast. Like most small businesses and podcasts, we rely heavily on word of mouth. So if you like what you heard today or in any episode, please share with your friends and colleagues and rate, subscribe, and comment on your favorite podcast platform. Till next time, cheers to your magical biz success.